Every time you click a link, open an email, or log on to that coffee shop Wi-Fi, you're stepping onto a battlefield you can't even see. Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving deep into the world of cybersecurity. We're going to expose the biggest threats, meet the people behind the keyboards, and give you the tools you need to build your own digital fortress.
So, here's the game plan. We're going to start with the absolute basics. What is cybersecurity, really? Then we'll dissect what an actual attack looks like. We'll even meet the different types of hackers out there. And most importantly, we'll get into the practical steps you can take to protect yourself. Finally, we'll look at the pros who are on the front lines guarding our digital world 24/7.
All right, let's jump right in. Before we can even talk about all the scary attacks and cool defenses, we have to get on the same page about what we're actually trying to protect.
So what does that really mean? Well, think of it like this. Cybersecurity is all about protecting our digital stuff. And that means everything from your personal photos and your banking app all the way up to huge corporate networks and even the power grid. It's basically the digital version of locking your front door and setting a home alarm, just on a massive global scale.
Okay, that's the textbook definition, right? But it's still a little abstract. So let's make it real. What does a cyber attack actually look like for an everyday person, someone like you or me?
This right here is a phishing attack, and it's one of the oldest and most effective tricks in the book. It totally preys on our trust and our sense of urgency. You get an email that looks exactly like it's from your bank, screaming, "Update your details now or your account is locked." So you panic, you click, and that's it. That one single click can be all it takes to hand over the keys to your entire digital kingdom.
And here's another huge risk, one that you've probably been exposed to 100 times. It's called a man-in-the-middle attack. You know that free Wi-Fi at the airport or your local cafe? It seems harmless, right? Well, a hacker on that very same network can basically become an invisible spy, watching and intercepting everything you send and receive. Your passwords, your credit card info, all of it.
So, we've seen how easy it can be to target individuals. But what happens when hackers aim higher? Let's scale this up and look at the anatomy of an attack that's big enough to take down entire corporations or even government services. So let's talk about a DDoS attack. What the heck is that? Well, imagine a super popular store with only one entrance. Now imagine thousands and thousands of bots all trying to push through that one door at the exact same time. Real customers? They can't get in. The store is totally gridlocked. That's pretty much what a DDoS attack does to a website or an online service. It just overwhelms it until it breaks.
And if you want to understand the real-world impact of this stuff, just look at this number. Over 230,000. That is how many computers got infected by the WannaCry ransomware attack back in 2017. And ransomware is nasty. It doesn't just steal your data, it locks it up and holds it hostage until you pay up.
But you know what's truly mind-blowing about this? The speed. We're talking about a single day. In just 24 hours, WannaCry jumped from its starting point and infected systems in 150 countries. It crippled hospitals, businesses, you name it. It just goes to show how fast a digital spark can turn into a global firestorm.
So this makes you wonder, right? Who are the people actually launching these attacks? Let me tell you, it is not the simple movie stereotype of a person in a dark hoodie. The real picture is way more complex.
And this table breaks it down perfectly. First, you have your black hats. These are the villains of the story, plain and simple. They're in it for money or just to cause chaos. Then, on the other side, you have the white hats. These are the good guys, the digital cavalry. Companies actually hire them to find security flaws before the bad guys do. And right in the middle, you have the gray hats. They operate in a gray area. They might break into a system without permission, but maybe their goal is to warn people about a weakness, not to exploit it.
Okay, I know. Hearing about all these threats can be a little intimidating, but here's the really good news. You are not powerless here, not even close. This next part is all about what you can do to build up your own defenses and make yourself a much, much harder target.
Let's start with your first line of defense, the firewall. The best way to think about it is like a bouncer at a club. Your computer is constantly getting data thrown at it from the internet. The firewall stands at the door and checks the ID of every single piece of data. If it looks suspicious or isn't on the list, it's not getting in. Simple as that. Most computers have one built in. You just got to make sure it's switched on.
Now, beyond the tech, it's all about building good digital habits. Strong, unique passwords for everything. That is your #1 best defense. Because if a hacker gets one password, you don't want them to have the keys to your entire life. Keeping your software updated is also a huge deal. Those updates often fix security holes that hackers love to sneak through. And remember that man-in-the-middle thing? Using a VPN on public Wi-Fi scrambles your data, making it totally useless to anyone trying to listen in. Each one of these is another layer of armor.
So doing your part is absolutely critical. But the great news is you are not in this fight alone. There's an entire industry of professionals out there whose whole job is to fight these threats on a massive scale.
And remember those white hat hackers we just talked about? Well, let's take a closer look. These are the people who literally get paid to think like a thief, to catch a thief. They use the exact same tools and tricks as the bad guys, but they do it with permission. Their goal is to find the cracks in the walls and patch them up before anyone else can get through. And the field is just massive. You've got security architects. They're the people who draw the blueprints for the entire digital fortress. Then you have the Chief Information Security Officer, or CISO. Think of them as the five-star general of a company's entire security strategy. And of course, you've got network engineers, the people on the ground actually building and maintaining the secure networks that we all rely on. And check this out. The need for these experts is absolutely exploding. This chart shows the projected job growth for information security analysts is 33%. To put that in perspective, that is more than 4 times the average for all other jobs combined. As our world gets more digital, the need for its defenders is growing even faster. This quote right here just nails the huge shift in thinking that's happened. For years, companies would build something cool, and then, right at the very end, someone would say, "Oh yeah, we should probably add some security." That doesn't work anymore. Now, security has to be baked in from the absolute beginning. It's not just another feature, it's the foundation of everything.
Which leaves us with one final and really important question. In a world where the digital threats are constantly changing and getting smarter, are your defenses strong enough? Because cybersecurity isn't something you just buy and forget about. It's a habit. It's a practice. The threats are going to keep evolving, so our awareness has to as well. So stay vigilant, stay informed, and stay safe. Thanks for tuning in.